back in the studio. I have been asked to do a track by track analysis of the songs on our new album Motorcade Amnesiacs. Now, I'll come clean, I'm not entirely comfortable with doing that. The main reason being that I kind of feel like once it's gone out into the world and people are listening to it, hopefully, that the songs don't belong to us anymore. That if you have listened to something and you found an interpretation of it, then it would be really kind of selfish of me to kind of stomp in and tell you what it's actually about, because 9 times out of 10 what you come up with will be much more interesting than what it was actually about or what I think it's about. So I don't really want to do that, but I would like to give you an overview of what the album is about thematically, I suppose. And I realise the word thematically is a little bit worrying when we start talking about albums, as are the words, you know, triple or concept or Chris de Burgh, for example. Anyway, this new album of ours, Motorcade Amnesiacs, is, for the most part, it's about the struggle against getting cynical as you get older. So that thing of, as you get older, just seeing the worst in everything. You know, kids on the street corner, you know, the price of this and that. How feeling like that is really the death of anything creative. So all the songs on the album, from one angle or another, attack kind of that subject. I guess the kind of gateway song on the album for us was Slingshot Grin, which kind of addresses that, I guess, the most directly. There's not so many ways you could read that song. It's basically the conversation between, you know, the cynical half and the kind of curious, more childlike half, and the kind of clashing together of those two things. And, you know, that arose out of a very long conversation over a huge amount of coffee in a Starbucks between Jana and I months back. And how interesting it would be to do a duet from that point of view, those two kind of clashing viewpoints, but kind of doing it in a kind of classic, well, not classic, I mean, obviously it's not a kind of Graham and Emmylou kind of duet, but the idea of, you know, two very different voices actually representing different things. So that was the gateway song. That kind of suggested a theme, if you like, for the album. Other songs we should talk about. I mean, Tire Kickers, which initially wasn't really a song for Sweet Billy Pilgrim. I kind of sort of had it on the back burner as maybe songs for other people to sing. And then we got Jana to sing it. And because she's a great storyteller, it made absolute sense. And the whole song came to life. And is now, I guess, a kind of sequel to Blue Sky Falls. That's sort of how I see it in terms of the storytelling. Jana may say something entirely different to you, but basically her perseverance with that song and her storytelling skills with that song are what made it come alive, and also what made it become a Sweet Billy Pilgrim song. Candlebook and Bell, from the beginning, Candlebook and Bell was the opening song on the record. Basically, as soon as we had the idea for that kind of drum tattoo at the beginning, that became the sort of fanfare for the record. There was no other way it could start. In the same way, actually, that Coloma Blues was always going to be the last song on the record. Sometimes we've ended our records kind of very quietly and in a kind of downbeat way, and other times we've ended with kind of, you know, the kind of epic, ending. And this time we decided that we wanted to end the record euphorically. So a kind of, you know, the most upbeat, uplifting that we could be. And Coloma Blues seemed like the obvious choice. It was kind of, they were amongst the first songs written, and to kind of have a really strong beginning and a really strong ending like that was kind of really inspiring for the rest of the record. So just above Midtown, without being too specific, is about finding the joy in what you do. I won't say any more than that, but that's the basic upshot of that one. Make It So is the first time I've written anything explicitly political, lyrically speaking. So that was an attempt to kind of, you know, not make it all about me, because I think the world's had enough of that, but to actually address some stuff that felt important. And, you know, with the election that's just gone, I'm very glad I did. So let me just check other titles that we have here. I can't remember it by heart. We Just Did What Happened and Nobody Came. That came from, obviously, the title of our very first record, which at the time was sort of me being a bit ironic, a bit defeatist. You know, we just did what happened. You know, no one turned up again. And I wanted to reclaim it. I wanted to reclaim that title. It felt like a really strong title, but it also felt like something you could say more defiantly. And so I wanted to turn the phrase around into something more positive, and kind of reclaim it for the band. Longstreth is the kind of concept of Longstreth. Oh, there's that word again. Was an actress, I think, called Emily Longstreth, who was in a film called The Big Picture, which was essentially Spinal Tap, but about the movie business. And she made this kind of one film, maybe a couple of others as well, and then promptly disappeared, despite, you know, at one point being the next big thing. And that was kind of intriguing to me. I went on the internet and sort of stalked her, but in a kind of healthy way. And there was no trace. There was no trace. She's kind of disappeared. And there's lots of theories, you know, that she kind of got chewed up by the machine and spat out, and that there were drug problems. And there are other theories that she just decided that it wasn't for her, and she's now painting in Tuscany somewhere or something. And I just thought it was a good leaping off point to explore the themes that I was exploring on the album anyway. Plus, really cool name. So, Burn Before Reading, as I was writing it, it sort of became clear to me that it sounded a bit, you know, spy thrillery, musically speaking. And so I sort of invented that fake movie theme at the beginning. You know, and when I say spy thriller, I'm not talking about James Bond. I'm talking about, you know, John le Carré, kind of, you know, greyness, blokes smoking fags, too much paperwork. So not the kind of, you know, multicoloured people running around with guns being heroic, but more, you know, blokes with raincoats, and, you know, appalling weather, and Berlin in the 60s and all that stuff. So that sort of became a useful metaphor to use in the songs. Some of the imagery kind of comes out of that. Which kind of leaves us with Grove Ponies on the additional CD, which isn't really related to the cynicism theme, except in the broadest sense, in that war, you know, everybody has to write a war song. Me being me, I couldn't just sort of go, war, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. No, I had to kind of, you know, go for masses of imagery, possibly go over the top. At 14 minutes, I think we could safely say I went over the top. But I've always had this feeling that lyrics, apart from being as important, if not more important, than the music. I can't listen to music if it's got bad lyrics. It's just bad music then. But also the idea that lyrics are should be able to be read separately to the music. Lots of people will disagree with that. Lots of people, and fair enough as well. Lots of people think of music, lyrics, and poetry as entirely different things, and often they are. And I'm not saying that I write poetry. That's not for me to say in the least. But what I like is the idea that someone can sit down with the lyric sheet when they're not necessarily listening to the music, and that those lyrics could mean something to them. That is my aim. Whether or not I achieve that is an entirely different thing. But I spend at least as long on the lyrics as I do on the music, if not longer. So that should give you a kind of overview of what's going on with the songs on the album. I hope I haven't gone into too much depth on anything and spoiled it for you. So it just remains for me to say that if you haven't bought the album yet, it is available at burningshed.com, both on vinyl and double CD. And thank you very much for listening. I hope it's been interesting. Bit of a long shot, but there you go. Anyway, we'll see you at a gig soon. Take care. Thank you.